welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different businesses in different chapters, what they love about their business, and how it's helped them being a part of the BNI family. So today, I'm super excited to have my guest Fernanda with us today. Fernanda, thank you so much for the time today. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Yeah, my pleasure. Absolutely.
Well, it's so great. We had a great one-to-one. You came over to our house here in Palm Coast and we had lunch, and it was so awesome. And I'm always learning something new about your business and how you're helping people. So I'm super excited to just dive right in. So why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people?
So we are a company that does specializes in concrete. So we do driveways, sidewalks, back patios, and we also do pavers on the same concept.
Hmm.
Sidewalks, back patios, driveways. We remove old driveways to replace with new. It could either be done with concrete or pavers. Pavers run a little bit more expensive, so sometimes budgets are not there, but they are beautiful, never crack. It is a really good product. So that is what we specialize on in the whole county of Flagler County.
Wow, that's awesome. And you guys do just a great job. And I know you guys are super dedicated to your
Oh, thank you.
customers. Of course, I've seen some of the pictures. They're just gorgeous. Is there anything that people should start keeping in mind if they're like, I've been meaning around to, fixing my driveway or my patio, and I should probably call someone like Fernanda, but what is something they should know beforehand when they call? Like anything that they should keep in mind?
So when it comes to a driveway, if you start seeing a lot of erosion and your driveway is shifting,
Mm,
so it's not level, it could turn into a tripping hazard. If you live with, a grandmother that had to move in for whatever reason, but it is moving in with you, you might want to consider removing it.
mm,
There is rules and regulations when it comes to a driveway in Palm Coast. Palm Coast does have
okay.
certain rules and regulations. So permits are required. They are mandatory to get permits. Culverts, if you have them, that is those metal pipes at the end of your driveway, those have to be replaced. There's
Gotcha.
no other way around it. Unless you don't touch the first 15 feet starting from the street in. But for
Mm,
the most part, those would have to be replaced. So all of that comes a lot of rules and regulations, which we could explain all of that when we come to do an estimate. But that's
hmm.
what you want to look for. If your driveway is shifting, it's the cracks are really out of control. There's holes. I mean, we've seen some, there's really like you could lose a small child into the driveway because it's the hole just opens up and it's not going to get any better.
No.
So, I mean, you might as well just call and have us come out. At least you'll know what your budget is. What are you looking at? What that is all involved. It does take a few days to get a driveway from removal to cover installation to pouring that concrete. So you'll be without a driveway for at least a week,
Okay.
weather permitting, because this weather is not helping us. We're all on standby. So weather permitting, you will be without a driveway, which for the most part, people will have neighbors that you could park in, or you are allowed to leave your car out on the street if you are doing work. For safety reasons, sometimes it's better to just ask a neighbor.
Gotcha. Those are some really great tips because obviously I've never replaced a driveway. I've never
Yeah.
been around for someone doing that, so I had no idea like where to even begin. So I think that's a great place for someone to go, okay, I should start looking into something like that. Are there any like common misconception it comes to when someone calls you and go, "Oh, can you do this?" or "What do you mean you can't do this?" or anything like that that people should be like, "Oh, okay."
One of the most misconcept is people thinking that they don't need a permit. Maybe other
Okay.
contractors are telling you you do need a permit.
That's
The
good to
other
know.
thing is a lot of people think because the right of way technically belongs to the city of Palm Coast, they are responsible for it. They are not.
Mm,
They are not going to keep you free covered. They are not going to help you with it. It's just, I don't know where they're getting this information from, but that is not true. You will have to get the permits yourself, which contractors should be able to do it. If they say, hey, I can't do the permits, maybe you should look into the license. Maybe they are not
mm,
licensed and insurance, and that could turn into a problem because then that means they don't know the rules and regulations.
mm. Yeah.
So the misconcept it's always, you will need a culvert. The city is not responsible for it, and they will not help you with it. You
No, that's a
just,
big one for
yes,
sure.
yeah.
It would be
It's just,
awesome if the city of Palm Coast paid for all of our driveways and all of our new installations and everything, but
yes,
unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
there's not enough budget.
No,
And then
definitely
it would
not.
be kind of like one of those, like, you might need the new culvert and the new driveway, but your neighbor doesn't. So does he get
Mm,
credit for it? You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those that you can be doing for one and not do for the other.
yeah,
It's
it gets confusing very quickly.
yes,
But then that's why you have experts like yourself. And I'm glad you brought up as well, that you guys are licensed and insured, which I know is a big thing here. I want to say maybe in the state of Florida, but it could be all over, the country, where there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, I can do this. I can fix this thing in your house for free or like $2." But then you're like, but if it's a bad job, it doesn't matter. Like it's basically
it's
$2 wasted.
absolutely. And then it's going to cost you another $4 to remove the mess they created. And then you're still going to have to do it professionally done.
Yeah.
So we always recommend everybody to get 2 to 3 estimates at least.
Mm,
And if they are crazy numbers, they come into thousands of difference between one and the other, get 2 more. It takes you 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes out of your life. You could separate them into once a week. But it's the knowledge. The more knowledge you get from contractors, from other customers, the better.
mm,
Um, and this way, you know what you're looking at. So
definitely.
if a contractor comes up and he says, "Oh yeah, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that," well, get a second opinion.
Mm,
Um, and it is good to get it, because we all do things a little different. Like, when it comes to gutter drains, we always run the gutter drains away from the driveway. So
mm,
we are eliminating future problems, erosions that will happen with the gutters just being downpoured into a driveway. So if you're going to go through that much trouble of removing a driveway and replacing it, run all of those with PVC pipe away from the working area.
mm-hmm.
So we also take care of all the sprinklers that we damage or cause any other problems with it. So all of those are little details that sets us apart from another contractor,
Definitely.
because we always go the extra mile to make sure that you will not have an issue in the future with, a driveway, because
Mm-hmm.
they are not easy to replace and they are
No, they
costly.
are. And it's the time, it's the energy, it's like you mentioned, putting your car in a different parking spot or finding
Yes,
somewhere, like the fact that you even have to go ask, like it's a lot of things that take out of your day, out of your weekly schedule, which is totally understandable, but you guys completely know what you're doing, and I can hear that with the small details you guys pay attention to, which is awesome to hear. So I'll definitely make sure I have all of your guys' company in the description, all the information, website, ways to contact, and everything. Definitely make sure. And I love that you mentioned you guys have people find other estimates and really find what makes sense for them and their budget, and
absolutely.
you guys aren't
Yeah.
afraid to say that, and I think that's great.
Yes, you should. We always recommend at least 3 estimates, because again, everybody does a little different. We all have different rates when it comes to the driveway, to the concrete and stuff. But it is good to also know that you're
Mm,
not just picking one and running with it, because they might give you the wrong information. We won't, but they might tell you, "Oh yeah, we could remove the concrete and save this culvert," which has happened to more than one homeowner. That's not true. So you want to get as much information as you could. Another thing is, you could also call the city. They are very helpful and very knowledgeable, clearly, what you could or cannot do. So they will give
mm,
you the right information. If you ever question, or one contractor says this and the another one says that, call the city and get it straight from them. Be like, "Hey, can I do this?"
mm.
They will be able to tell you, "No, you cannot reuse the culvert. You have to get a new one. Inspections have to be done." There's no, so at least they're
Mm-hmm.
not trying to just half-ass
Right. Pull a
anything
fast one on
and
you for
getting,
sure.
yes, and
Yeah.
getting you in trouble. In the long run, you could get in trouble.
Yeah, but that's great. So thank you so much for taking this time to really educate people. I've learned a lot. I think this is super interesting for me and things that I'm going to keep in mind when I start, looking at other things or just when I hear other people talking, which I think is a big one. When you see those posts on Facebook, like, what am I supposed to do? Well, now we know a little bit more. So,
Yes.
yes, well, switching gears just a little bit, I'd love for you to talk. I mean, you are a newer BNI member, which is awesome, and you've been a great addition to our chapter. I'd love to
Thank
hear
you.
who's the first person that invited you? How'd you hear about it?
So it was Miss Kim Sunshine.
Oh.
She invited my brother, and then he went and he liked it, but he's not really a morning person. I don't think none of us are, but
Understandable,
we do
understandable.
show up. So he invited it, and for the longest time, we've been in business. He's been in business for over 20 years. I've been doing this for 9 years. So for the most part, I always wanted to do a group networking, but it's hard sometimes to figure out which ones work, which ones are not. And so I wanted to do it, but I didn't. Let's be honest, I didn't make that much effort into it. Um, Kara asked me one time, and then I was like, no, that's just not going to work because it's too early in the morning. But then when Miss Kim came around and told Carlos, I went to visit, and I visited with our BNI twice, and I really liked it. I liked the people. It was a very welcoming. It is overwhelming when you first start,
Yeah.
but it was very, your dad was great. He was so
Oh,
welcoming and
thanks.
so like very kind, and spoke and introduced me to half of the members. So that was great. So that was fantastic. And then we visit with the other group, that's the newer one. So what we chose to go with our BNI, and it's been working out fantastic for
Hmm.
us. Um, I mean, they only take one for each trade, which
Hmm.
is fantastic because we're not there competing with each other. We're there to help each other.
Right.
So the referrals has been amazing.
Oh, that's amazing to
I'm
hear.
yeah,
Yeah.
really enjoying it. And I love the one-on-ones. You get to know people, and you get to know them a little bit, like having lunch at your house. Now I know there's your mom, your dad, your brother. Like I know a little bit more about your family, and not just
Hmm.
because your dad was so sweet and polite when you met him. So you get to know more about them and
Hmm.
what it's all about.
Oh, yeah,
So I
it's so
really enjoyed
great.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so awesome to hear. And I know like when you're new to BNI, it gets so overwhelming so quickly, not only if you have a big chapter, but even the smaller chapters. I mean, there's so much work that goes into it. And a lot of people go like, oh, I just don't have the time, which is totally understandable. But those who do, those who are able to make the time, I know that, it's something that you have to go a little bit scary and head first into, but then you start to get the hang of his things.
Yes.
Awesome.
Um, yes, the benefits that you get from it. You put a little bit of time in, you get to know, the other members, what they do, what they're all about. It's not just a person that sells concrete
Right.
or pours concrete. There's a person behind there that is kind and honest, and they're just, making a living. So I think because of it, it's just fantastic. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
from all of the members, because I had a few one-on-ones. So
Yeah. Well, Fernanda, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really
absolutely, my
appreciate it.
pleasure. Yeah.
This was so much fun, and you're so knowledgeable, and you have so much great energy when it comes to something like this. I think maybe people get the idea like, oh, concrete is so boring. Any of this can be so boring, but you make it so much fun. So I had a
Yes.
joy. I had a complete blast listening. So thank you so much for
Oh,
educating
thank
me.
you. I appreciate you.
Of course. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.